Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Polar and Robin Pabello, only on LA Talk Radio.
That was different. Thanks for listening. This is a Female Filmmakers Fuse. I'm your host, Alexa Polar, with
Robin Pabello.
And we have Brendan Polar, my nephew, here.
Hello, ladies. I'm back again. How's it going?
And gentlemen.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, yes.
Let me make a call here real quick because
Our special guest.
And I apologize because normally we are more, we literally ran into the studio today.
Anyways, so happy Sunday. It's a gorgeous day,
It is
although,
a beautiful day.
Most of you that know that what's going on in California, there are 4 fires that are going on. It's pretty incredible. Just want to send well wishes, and if there's anything that you guys can do to help, whether it's transport animals or people or have a spare room, I know that that's kind of been a major concern for us here on the coast.
Right. And we went through another tragedy, and unfortunately that same city is going through this because they're part of the fire as well in Thousand Oaks. So I don't want to say the thoughts and prayers, but even though that's what it is, I hope that there's more of a change. Enough is enough. And so #enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me get our guest on.
Yeah, you're going to give her a ring. So they can call in if they like to. And what's the number?
The number is 818-602-4929. Again, that's 818-602-4929.
Yeah, and then they can listen in live every Sunday from noon to 1. Mm-hmm. I do it via the app, or I let people know via the app of LA Talk Radio. We're on Channel 2. And then they can also find us on streaming for iTunes and Google Play and all that jazz. So,
yeah.
How are you doing today, Brendan?
I'm doing good, yeah. I was just thinking about those fires, though, because unfortunately I have a friend, not to detract from the show, but I actually have a friend who, her house got burned down again, and that's twice in 1 year, unfortunately.
Twice in a year,
it happened earlier this year when there were fires up in Chico, because she lives in Chico.
Okay.
And so it happened again, and she's just really devastated, and I feel for her. I can't even express how sorry I am for what she's going through.
I've been through a fire when I was a kid, so it sucks, and I do feel for them. When I lost my house when I was my childhood home in a fire, it wasn't anything to this extent, but it was a fire regardless. I dialed the wrong number before.
I think it was the right one.
Now it's the right one. So Robin, you're on there now.
I am official.
Yeah.
I'm official.
Nice?
Hello, you've reached Shara Ashley, and unfortunately, I'm not.
Well, this is awkward.
Not really.
We'll keep trying.
It happens,
though.
yeah. You
Okay.
can go ahead and keep trying. So Brendan, I know I wasn't here last Sunday. Were you?
No, I wasn't. I haven't been
okay.
here for a couple podcast episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
I was working last Sunday right after the festival.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hello.
Sorry about that. How do
That's okay.
This is our special guest, everyone, and I'm sorry. How do you say your name?
Shara.
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 Shara and Ashley Zeiger?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
All right. Guys, points for me. I never say the names right.
What was her name again, Alexa?
Don't do that, Robin. So, Shara, where are you located?
I'm in New York City.
New York City.
The Big Apple.
The Big Apple. And
I'm literally in the middle of Manhattan at a coffee shop while I'm talking to you.
awesome.
It's very New York of you.
How's it going?
Very New York of me.
Yeah, how's it going in New York? How's the weather there right now?
Well, it's usually I say that it's not as nice as it is in LA.
Mm-hmm.
However, with everything that's going on with you guys over there, I think it's actually better here right now.
Yeah.
It's a little chilly, but it's very fall. It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, at least the winds they look like they've died down. Yesterday, I know, and Friday it was pretty windy, so I'm just hoping that that's been more helpful for everything that's going on
with the
in
fires
California.
and stuff like that. I know that some people have been able to return, and unfortunately there wasn't much that they can return to, but at least they were able to return.
Oh.
Yeah, and in our industry, Paramount Ranch is gone.
Yeah,
I was literally just up there.
The church on the ranch, though, is the only thing left standing, ironically.
Yeah, I did see that.
Everything else was gone except for the church on the ranch.
Oh, yeah.
What is it that you do, Shara?
Yeah. What is what?
What is it that you do? Sorry, what is it that you do professionally?
What is it that I do professionally? Well, I'm a professional actor.
Okay.
I work a lot in different sets and things, but I'm also an independent filmmaker. And I'm a screenwriter, and I produce my own work. I direct a little bit. I write plays as well and produce them too.
Very, very cool. And what's the? Sorry, you're distracting me. Not you. What is it? What's a recent thing that you've worked on? The most recent thing that you've worked on?
Well, I have 2 films that are currently in the festival circuit right now. One is called Joe, and it's a romantic comedy. It's running as a short, but it's also a pilot. So that's been traveling the festival circuit, and I've been pitching that to different places to turn it into a series. And I also have a film called The Red Lotus that's been traveling as well, and that's a short. That's a dramatic thriller. And that film, I actually have a feature film version that I've recently completed that I'm in the process of pitching as well. So showing and pitching and creating all kind of in the same bucket.
So I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name correctly. So can you say it one more time for me?
Shara.
Okay. Shara, This is Robin. So I like to always kind of know, what your background is and like what inspired you to really get into this industry. Because you said that you're mainly an actor, but you also like to write and direct a little bit. So I'm just curious as to what sparked that.
Great. So I've been working as a professional actor for about 14 years now. Like I went to school for theater, and I've been acting ever since I was a kid, but I also wrote too. And I created my own little production company called The Platform Group about 8 years ago now, 8.5.
Okay.
And we started it as really as a way for me to be seen as an actor in the way I wanted to be. I produced a play, and I didn't write it. I produced an old John Patrick Shanley play.
Okay.
And through twist of fate, we ended up selling out an equity showcase code here in the city, which is like kind of next to impossible because there are hundreds and hundreds of shows on that level going on at any time. So to sell out for 16 shows right out the gate was a little bit crazy. And then the only way to extend it was to move into a mini off-Broadway contract.
Okay.
So we did.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the beginning of me creating my own work. But I've since written a lot, and people kind of know me as an actor, writer these days who produces. So, yeah.
Do you act in a lot of the things that you write and produce and direct?
Yeah.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Because I notice most actors that I've come across that have done that is because they weren't getting the roles that they were hoping to get. They weren't being taken more serious, and then it's developed into something else where now they're taken more serious because they were able to prove themselves. Is that a little bit of something as what you're doing, or a reason why you're doing that?
Well, for me, it's not really as masturbatory as that. It's more like I want to tell. I mean, it started that way for sure, but then it turned into more of these are the stories I want to tell, and this is the person that I fit in this story. So the thing with when I make my work is that I'm not the lead and the star of every single project I do. I'm always in them, but, you know, if it makes more sense for me to be a supporting character, then, and that's the role that I fit in this world, and that's the role I play. I think that sometimes people put themselves in situations that I think it hurts the project, where you look at it and go, that person doesn't make sense to play that role.
Right.
But I definitely have always been a multi-hyphenate at heart. I mean, I've kind of written forever, and I produced my first show when I was in high school. It's always been an interest of mine to be a fully encompassing artist. And so that's just what I continue to do. Now, in terms of my work begetting other work, absolutely. So I find that with this industry, it kind of works cyclically. So what's fun is, you know, I've done an awful lot of projects that I've created, but then also I've been in other self-created projects that somebody else, you know, multi-hyphenate like me, like puts me in their work. And, you know, for the first time in a really long time in the past recent years, because of doing a lot of work on my own and being proactive in that way, my reel finally reflected who I am as a performer. So then I booked a bunch of television shows last year, and I booked some really big projects, and so that then begets other things. And then, you know, I get seen for things all the time now, but I continue to make my own work because I enjoy it, and I really want to tell the certain stories that I want to tell. I think being an artist is about having something to say in the world, and being a storyteller is really at the heart of that.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. I always am curious, just because, is there any one thing that actually sparked you into leading into it? I mean, I know that were you born and raised in New York? I mean, was it because your parents took you to Broadway, or was there any kind of incident that you can recall that kind of shifted you in that light?
Yeah, so I have been acting forever. So I did my first show at camp when I was 5. It was very, very, very young, and grew up always kind of doing theater, always kind of making things. I took dance lessons from a really early age. I was the kid that played lots of instruments. But for me, when I was young, I actually wanted to be an animator. That was the thing. I was really serious about fine art, and being an animator for Disney was like the career path, because I wanted to create characters.
Yeah. And
one day in high school, I was sitting at class. I was taking these like continuing classes at Moore College of Art on Saturdays, and I had this realization that if I were to do this, then I would be sitting behind a desk for the rest of my life doing something rather monotonous. And I realized that this wasn't me. And it was interesting because this was the thing that was like the dream since I was a kid. And, you know, was taking all sorts of classes, and, you know, people were putting a lot of stake in me in that, and I was having my portfolio reviewed every year and was kind of on that track. And I realized on this one like moment that I didn't want to draw the characters. I wanted to create them with myself. I wanted to be an actor and create characters.
Yeah.
So it was always kind of about characters, but the method in which to tell the story kind of did a flip-flop. And fine art has always kind of been a hobby ever since, and what was the hobby is now the career path.
That's intriguing. Yeah. Did you have a question, Brendan?
Actually, I do. Sorry, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. This is Brendan.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious because I'm trying to get into the film industry a little bit myself. I haven't really gotten my foot in the door mainly as much as you have. But for you, the fact that you juggle all that stuff to me is amazing. But like, do you find that like tough to do sometimes? Like, do you find one thing, I guess, basically tougher to do than one other thing, if that makes sense?
Well, sure. Like, you'll always have things that you're strong at and things that you're not as strong at. For me, I am a strong actor, writer. I've only just kind of dove into directing for film. I mean, I've directed a bunch of theater, but that's kind of new, and I don't feel I'm as strong as that. And so for me, it's about honing different skills. So because I want to hone my skills as a director, I've been doing a bunch of these 48-hour projects and projects that I'm not putting a lot of stake and I'm not putting a lot of money into, or a lot of time and energy. And that way I can hone those skills and feel free to do that. But then the projects that I feel are bigger projects that I'm putting more of an investment into, I really want to put the people that are the best in those departments,
Absolutely.
So then the whole project is good and in turn makes me look good.
That makes sense.
Yeah, being okay with where you're strong and where you're weak, but kind of supporting yourself by other players on your team that can help own that for you.
No, that's good. Great. So with your production company that you started about 8 years ago, are you like looking for something to put on your slate, or what is the extent of what it is?
So it's really just my own little outlet to produce my own work through. It's not something that I'm fiscally sponsored projects right now, so I kind of juggle the land between I'm not quite an LLC and I'm not quite a 501c3, but I find this little like happy median in the middle place that it's when I want to do something. It's not really I don't have how do I say this? Like I'm not like constantly producing other people's things and creating a giant revenue stream through it. Yeah. It's more like the vehicle to make the art.
Yeah.
And we raise the money when we have the project. And then when we don't, I teach classes.
Very nice.
To just kind of keep things going. And then we have a new project.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really interesting. I had someone come on set that was interested in being a DP, and the producer was like, "Hey, this is a friend of mine. She's really interested. I'm going to have her talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. I don't think that's a problem." And it's funny because the very first question I was ever asked when I started as an electrician was, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to be here?" And it kind of led to a question of mine like, "Yes, I want to be here. Why are you asking me that?" And I always ask that too because, a lot of people forget how difficult this industry is. There's a lot of no's.
Oh, you have to love it.
Yes. That's it. You have to love it. And I think it's like people like you and I that are in it, only truly get it because like you said, you have to love it. And once you have a taste of it, even though it's difficult and there's a lot of roadblocks, like Robin was saying, there's a lot of no's, and sometimes you have to create your own yes. It's definitely something that you have to have passion for, and not a lot of people understand that. You really have to push and motivate yourself and have others as well, a support team.
Well, I think too,
absolutely.
I think the norm though too is that society is just like, oh, that's not a real job, and it's kind of interesting and funny that people have that mentality because it's the creative side, and it's always been that negative connotation of, oh, you're starving artists. Yeah, but you're starving and you're happy because you're creating something.
Well, here's the thing about what we get to do that is so exciting, right? My bank account is nowhere near where I want it to be. I'm fully open and honest in saying that.
Oh, yeah.
But my work this past year in being an artist has taken me to places that allowed me to, cross off two major things off my bucket list within a month of each other.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
Because of my work.
Yeah.
I was hired to devise Alice in Wonderland for the stage and then direct a bunch of English language learners in it in Chengdu in China.
Wow.
So I was paid to go to China, and I had a giant layover and was able to spend a few days in Beijing.
Nice.
And went to the Great Wall of China on somebody else's dime.
Yeah.
Ooh, very nice.
And then one of my films premiered at Sedona International Film Festival this year. And we were an hour away from the Grand Canyon. So I was able to take a trip to the Grand Canyon because my film was showing not that far away.
That's amazing. See? And that's kind of like why I love those opportunities, because we are so lucky to do what we do in this industry. I mean, I had a previous career. I was a teacher for, 12 years. So, and I am very passionate about that. But at the same time, like I'm lucky to have 2 careers and I love what I do now. So, I mean, it's always interesting to me that, when I hear people that are kind of like on that, like, oh, I've been working so much, I just really wanted some time off. Well, then take it, because we are freelancers and we can do that. We get to decipher when we work and who we work with. And we don't have to say yes to the job. I've noticed that, like, being in this industry, I'm becoming a little more choosy. Sometimes there are those paycheck jobs because, you got to pay those bills. But at the same time, it's always like, do I like working with these people? Have I done this before? And, have I always wanted to do this? And where is it going to take me? You know what I mean? And is it going to basically, at bottom line, is it going to help me grow as a person? Whether it's...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing, too, that I feel like if, making art, I feel like is the best way to influence people. And if you have something you want to say, being able to create something to say that thing is the best way to pull at people's heartstrings.
I agree.
I have one of my films that's on the circuit right now is called The Red Lotus, and that I have a feature version of, and it's a play about 2 sisters and an underground abortion clinic. I wanted to explore the 2 sides of this issue, and really wanting to get into the headspace of the people that don't think it's right. And because I'm very pro-choice, I'm a female artist, I'm an agnostic, but I really wanted to make a film about it, to make people that, are on what I think is the wrong side of history understand where people are coming from. And so I wrote a narrative film, and I interviewed dozens of women that have had abortions, because I'm lucky in my life and I've never been in a situation that I had to make that decision.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have, and it's been an amazing journey of being able to have people in a dark theater that sometimes they're there for a short block that they have no idea what they're walking into, and really being able to fetch the crap out of them with my art.
No, that's amazing.
And what a cool thing to be able to do.
Yeah, because those are, there's, it's so crazy to say this, but, it's still an issue. It's still a current issue. There's so many things that you would think, hey, it's 2018, this should not be a questionable issue, and it is. And there's a lot of things, especially with everything that's going on in our country. It's kind of just like, oh, okay, great. Like why is this one way and not the other? It's a very interesting time to be alive, and I mean that in every aspect, because there's a lot of positive and there's a lot of negative. It just depends on where your perspective is looking.
It feels like being alive in the 60s in a way.
Yeah,
it kind of does.
What I would imagine it would be like.
Yeah, no, and it's weird because I feel like a lot of it, because you said it right there where you said it, being on the right side of history, and it blows my mind that it's a big thing to where you don't want history to repeat itself, and here we are, and people read the books, have seen it, read the, like we study history, we know what we went through. Why would you want to go through that again?
Let me interject.
Yep.
Only in part. You know what I mean? Like, you're still teaching young children only part of the truth of a story.
Right.
It's not the full truth. It's not both sides of the truth, and that's the problem. Like when I got
what's scary today is I find that like truth doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
It's not about being truthful. It's about being relevant. And I think that's terrifying. And as artists, I think it's our responsibility to sway people, because the big advertisers, they're good at marketing. They're good at swaying people. But what we can do is pull at people's heartstrings.
Yep. I read an article by the ACLU, and it was really interesting and kind of touches on the topic of your project. The ICE, immigration. Yeah. They basically said that they are not held responsible for any sexual assaults that happens while in detention. Now, the ironic thing about that is that there have been many women that have come forward that have been sexually assaulted, have been raped while in detention. And some of those rapes led to pregnancies. And the irony of that is that these women were like, I was forced into this by someone that was holding me captive and then literally held me down and raped me. And now I'm pregnant and I would like to request an abortion. And they were denied the abortion because then it went into a religious standpoint, which shouldn't be in a country where it's freedom of religion. I don't understand that. Yep. It makes no sense.
Well, it's also legal in our country. I learned this recently that doctors, if you have surgery for something and you are a woman and in a teaching hospital, if they want their medical students to practice giving pelvic exams, whether or not you are having surgery for anything in the pelvic region or not, while you are under, it is completely legal for them to allow them to do that, and it happens all the time.
Wow.
How gross is that?
That's upsetting.
I was just
infuriating.
I was just in Washington D.C. and I was so angry after I left one of the federal buildings, and it literally I read in black and white 44 years ago, women were not allowed to have a credit card open under their name. It had to be under their husband's. Yeah. And I'm like, 44 years ago? Are you kidding me right now? Like, what? How? Yep. How is that? That's insanity. I don't understand that. And then the whole thing with the voting and people that didn't have an actual an address, not a P.O. box, but a physical address. So all those people that were living
the indigenous people, the tribes.
What in the world? How is that something that's possible right now? Our voices need to be stronger and stand up for one another.
Well, it goes all the way back to Jim Crow laws. It's when they used to suppress African-American people from voting.
Yes.
And they would use the argument that it was the grandfather clause. It was if your grandfather didn't vote, then you can't vote.
Yes. And that's it's insane. The Constitution is a living, breathing document. It is applicable and it's for now. It's not for 1776. It's not for the 1960s.
It's gone through a lot of changes.
It has, and it's for very obvious reasons. But if we can't take a stand, I mean, the fact that supposedly he's trying to work out this whole
birth rights.
No, that protests are going to be illegal.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? What? You're taking away our freedom of speech?
Well,
what is that?
Yep. That's a whole thing, too. You with the whole Constitution, the shootings that have happened recently. And I said, look.
Which one?
Right?
My God.
Right?
I just read a statistic that we're in 300, then back to a couple days.
Yeah.
No. So there was...
It's 308. So far this year, mass shooting.
Across in our nation, 300. It was 304 when I read it, and it was 311 days of the year.
So my thing was because I know as soon as you say gun control, certain people just freak out because they think they're going to come into their home and take their guns. And I'm saying, look, if we have to always register as a driver, always have to every so often, sometimes have to redo our driving test, depending. If you there's so many things that you've done wrong, so many tickets you have to redo your driving test and all this stuff. Why can't it be applicable to guns? They should
I agree with you completely.
They should always do background checks every year, sometimes every 6 months.
It's not just a background check, though.
But I'm saying mental. I'm saying in the background check that includes mental health issues. Have you been a psychiatrist? Have you gone to the psychiatrist? Did you need therapy? They can go into the records and find out what not what was said, but what the psychologist could say, like, I wouldn't recommend this person have a weapon. They could harm themselves, they can harm others.
So here's my 2 cents on this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say this correctly. So I don't believe that gun control is something that I think a majority of people take in the wrong way. It's more for the safety of yourself and for others around you, because for some odd reason, in our society today, young kids, I'm talking like elementary, middle school, high school, college, and adults, they think that killing themselves is an option sometimes, or killing others is an option.
Yep.
And I cannot fathom that. I never thought
that's a whole different subject. I get what you're saying.
Right, but what I'm saying is that they have access to guns. So I understand that. It is definitely the person. It's not a gun, I feel, that kills people.
I understand.
It's the fact that I feel that if you have...
It's all encompassing.
Yes.
It's like,
you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a checks and
it's an
balance
easy
system
decision to make because it's fast.
Well,
it's like an easy decision,
and
which means that like people can be impulsive with that decision.
Right, and that could be applicable to any kind of weaponry. You know what I mean? Because like people get in their cars and they can utilize that. You know.
But what I was trying to say is the irony of just talking about gun control. It spurs into so much more, and then for some reason, some people think gun control means taking guns away. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there should be stricter laws. I know criminals will get guns, whatever, but ironically, it's not, because they're saying gang members and whatnot. Ironically, the ones that are doing these mass shootings weren't a part of a gang, I mean, if you look at, you know.
I mean, they're generalizing, and that's
I understand.
part of the problem.
But my point is this. So if I speak on gun control and I say I think there should be stricter gun laws or whatnot.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Then you have the ones that same people say that they totally agree with Trump on the birth rights, right? So how he wants to eliminate that. So any child that was born here from someone that's not a document immigrant or whatnot, then they feel they shouldn't be a U.S. citizen. And that's been in the Constitution. Their argument is the guns are in the Constitution, so that remains. But when it comes to that, so do you get what I'm saying? Like, why is it one way or the other? If you're going to use the excuse of the Constitution, it should apply.
It's like everything. It's like you have this religious right that like manipulates and interprets things to say what they want to say. It's like, you know, people hear what they want to hear, and then they don't want to hear what they don't want to hear. But like as artists, you know, we're in this really interesting time where we can shed the human light on things in ways that other people can't. Like, you know, they can spout statistics, they can show you a vigil, but like we can tell a story that can get to people and get to the heart of people in ways that other people can't. Like, you know, I think back to some of my favorite films, and I think back to things like I'm trying, like,
some
really,
of your favorite
when I think
artists.
of like things like the Handmaid's Tale, right? Like I'm just thinking like what's right now is, and really like pulling at our heartstrings about things.
Those are the people that have actually watched it or taken the time to. That's a thing, too. Is people having open-mindedness to actually understand what that is. Because the majority of people that I've talked to, it's very split, you know? So I'm curious as to your take on that, because I'd love to have you continue.
On Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah, just, I sorry to interrupt you. So I just wanted you to continue.
I think it's one of those shows that's really hard to watch, but I think it's done brilliantly. I heard that Lizzie actually memorizes all of her voiceovers.
Oh, wow.
And that she actually plays out her voiceovers while she's doing the work. Which
incredible.
Completely makes sense,
Yeah.
but it's like so much more work.
Yeah, it is, but you know what? Her performance is amazing. I mean, so there's 3 of us in the room. So, Alexa, have you watched Handmaid's Tale all the way current?
I have not. I saw the first episode, and it's more having accessibility of where I could watch it. the streaming service, I mean.
Okay. And Brendan?
I've heard of it. I've never watched it, but I heard it's amazing, though.
Yeah. So I'm the only one in the room. So 1 out of 3 doing just like a quick survey has actually fully committed to watching it because
I'd like to.
Because I would like to. I mean, it's been out for a while.
What channel is it on, by the way?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, and it's on Netflix.
That's the thing is, like, I currently don't have Netflix, and that's the reason why I can't. I thought it was Hulu. It's Netflix.
Netflix.
It's Hulu.
It's
it is.
Hulu.
It's Hulu.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I haven't had
Hulu.
Hulu for a while now, and that's part of the reason why I haven't been able to watch it. I think when I had Hulu, it was. I saw the first episode. I was really into it. I think I saw the first 2 episodes and I was really into it. And then after that, because like we mentioned in the beginning of the show, Starving Artist, I had to eliminate some expenses. And that was one of them, unfortunately. So I have no streaming no, like, I don't have Hulu.
But I just
and
mean,
Netflix.
like, in general about things
Right.
like, that shed lights on things. Like, I think of, like, Shawshank Redemption or The Green Mile and how it makes you think of incarceration in a different way.
Yeah.
Or even the comedic look at post-incarceration and the way The Last OG looks at it. It's, it's just a gift that we get to do these things, that we can say something,
Yeah, it's just about having a message and how you deliver it. I think that's the most important thing about filmmakers. I always say, if someone doesn't have a reaction, then you're not doing something right.
Yeah.
So whether
regardless of the reaction.
Well, no, exactly. It has to just evoke an emotion is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And that is the best part of filmmaking, of being a filmmaker, is that you're able to share the message that you feel strongly about, and you're getting out out of your circle, like, you know what I mean, like, because it's getting out there and other people that you didn't think of are watching it, and that's what's amazing about it.
It's funny, when I made the pilot Joe that's been circulating, I literally made it because I was in a funk in my life, and I personally just needed joy. And my husband was like, he looked at the script and he was like, this is what you want to make? You just came off of this abortion film and you just came off of this play about the homeless, and like, this fluff, this rom-com, that's what you want to spend your time with? And
Absolutely.
I'm like, yeah,
It's a balance.
I think I need it.
Yes.
And it's funny because it's been killing it in the festival circuit, and it's because I think the world needs it. Like, they need to laugh. They need this, like, nugget of a hug in a film. So it's fun.
No, that's good. So what do you have anything in pre-production or in production right now currently?
I'm actually in post-production on a short, and I'm in pre-production on another short.
Very nice.
So
something that
the pre-production is on a film called I Must Dash You. And it is a silent film. That's sort of in the vein of like a Buster Keaton kind of a film.
Okay.
Cool.
About an agoraphobic named Abby Finkelman-Steen. And it's really a commentary on the trials and tribulations that women go through to learn to love ourselves. So it's going to be a fun little whimsical shoot that we're going to do soon.
Oh, I want to see that. That sounds really good. Yeah, that's cool. And what's the other one?
The other one that we're in post for is called Secret Feminism. That's a short. It's about 2 girls, Maggie and Stella, who go off to the woods one day. And at first, you kind of think that they are going off to some tryst. You think of, like, what is this tension? Is it sexual? Like, what's going on? And when they get there, you learn that all they want to do is all of the stuff that they don't want their feminist friends to know that they like to do. So they watch The Bachelor, they shave their legs, they do a makeover.
That's
and
hilarious.
then, of course, problems happen.
Is it called Guilty Pleasures?
It's called Secret Feminism.
Secret
So-
Feminism.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
That's great. And see, that's great that you have that balance, like what Robin was saying. And your husband pointed out, you went from really serious topics to something that's just feel good. And I mean, everything, even if it's a feel good movie, it's going to have some sort of message. somewhere in there.
Absolutely.
I remember I was really depressed one day, like super depressed, and I was in Hollywood. And I was walking by the Man's Chinese Theater, and they were showing Elf, of all things. And I was just like I was really at a bad spot, mentally, to myself, emotionally. And so I walked up and I was like, Elf at the Man's Chinese Theater. I was like, do you guys actually sell tickets to watch a movie in the actual theater? And they're like, yeah, people don't know it, but we do. Aside from being able to pay to do the tour, which is like a quick 10-minute tour, you can either sit there and watch a film. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I was like, sure, I don't know what this is, but yeah, I'll pay for it. So I sat in the theater, and it was, I think, Robin, you were there. And there was like no one else in that theater. It was amazing.
I'm a bad person. I didn't realize you were so depressed.
You have the theater to yourself? That's amazing.
Yes. And I was like looking around, and I felt overwhelmed because I was like, one day I'm going to have a movie here. It hasn't happened yet, but I know someday it will. But it was just really nice.
Absolutely.
And then the movie was just
It was Elf, right?
It was Elf.
Oh, Elf, yeah.
So yeah, it's such a feel good, just entertainment goofball movie, and it was just the right time, and it was like the right setting, everything, and it was just ironic. And you're right. It's sometimes something that you need in your life. You
That's
just need that.
That's so fun to have a movie theater to yourself. I remember when I was testing my DCPs for both The Red Lotus and Joe. I had another film called Faustus that got into this film festival called the Northeast Film Festival that was at TNX Cinemas in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I knew the guy that ran the festival. This is my friend Larry Rosen. And Larry, I was talking about how do I go about testing my DCPs, and he's like, well, you're screening at 1. He's like, there's nothing in the theater at noon. If you pay the guy that runs the machine, I'm sure I can talk to him. And so I had an hour of watching my films and testing my DCP before my festival screening.
Nice.
And it's such a fun thing to have a movie theater to yourself. It feels so cool.
Yeah. It really is. It's a different experience.
Yeah.
So
kind of feels Spielberg-y.
But that's amazing. What advice would you give to someone that was starting off in this industry?
I would say a couple things. One, remember that you are your own business and you are your own product. And like any business that needs capital, that needs business development, that needs funding, and that needs marketing. So look at yourself in that way. So if you go to film school, great. That helps you start off. But if you didn't go to film school, you still need business development and figure out all the different ways that you can learn the skills that you need to do what you want to do. And understand that you're going to have to fund this in the beginning. That there are really no shortcuts to that. You need to learn it and develop your product, whatever that is. And then my other source of advice would be, you never know where anybody is going to be in 5 years. Mm-hmm. And you never know when someone can recommend you for a job or be in a position to hire you. So we are a small community, and sometimes burning bridges is necessary. I've done it. It happens. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, be someone people want to work with, and that will help you 100-fold.
Yeah.
That's great advice for
listeners.
That's
fantastic advice.
No, that really is. And it's Robin is someone that I've noticed people like to work with. She does have that attitude. Mm-hmm. And I'm openly saying this, I'm that person that needs to work on that. So
listen, every personality is different. I mean, here's the thing. I guess always have a smile on my face usually, unless I'm concentrating on something, and then I just kind of look like
you're concentrating on something.
But then as soon as I make eye contact with somebody else, it's hi. It's I'm a very bubbly, try to be like carefree and happy because, you know, life is short. I mean, you have to enjoy every situation you're in, even if it's the most grimiest one or like...
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that surprises people because they maybe expect you to be like a little uptight or like, you know, a little standoffish. I've seen DPs that are like that before.
This is true. Yeah. If you're going, but I also don't look like a normal
No, you
DP.
don't. No, you don't.
No, she doesn't look standoffish or uptight at all.
Not
I mean,
at all.
like I've worked with her a couple.
Thanks for talking about me.
No, I've worked with you a couple of times, so I know that's not what it comes off. But that's a good advice because I do have to work on that. And my issue is not that I hope I'm not difficult to work with. I'm more insecure. And that's something I have to work with is my insecurities.
You need to have confidence. You have to believe in yourself. And I
Absolutely.
110% agree with her that, you know, you are a product. You know, people are going to see you at the way that you're projecting yourself because that's the first thing they do. I mean, no matter what you say, that's usually the person's first impression is, you know, how do you carry yourself? How do you talk to somebody else? How do you answer someone? You know, like I like to try to not say no when somebody is being creative. Like I'll figure it out. Like even if it's crazy, I'm just like, yeah, let's give it a try. I mean, I'll do my very best to make it work. That's my
And that being said, too, like, have integrity in yourself. So, like, there are a lot of assholes in this business.
Yes.
There are. There are a lot of, like, really crappy people in this business.
a lot. Yeah,
But I feel like, you know, if you listen to your heart on things and you put the work first, you know, the assholes will fall away and the bullshit will fall away and your work will speak for itself and your reputation will speak for itself.
This is true. You don't want to sacrifice that because then it's kind of just like, But at the same time, you know, like this whole thing is like trying to surround yourself with people that believe in you and support you. You know, and that's kind of the hardest part is just finding that circle of people that
Trial and error.
Yeah, and you have to, you know, or, you know, like I feel like everyone has, you know, a motive. Everybody wants to be doing something to better themselves. And so along the way is when you find those people that are wanting to help you or wanting to help themselves. And I think that being very aware of that is also very nice. Like, I like working with people that are collaborative, you know, that are open to suggestion because I am. Like, I'd like to, like, hey, I don't know everything. Hey, what do you think of this? Or,
constructive criticism is always nice, right?
Yeah,
Right.
especially on the day, you know, because sometimes it's just like you see something that I may not because we have this vision, and you might just see something a little that's different. It's kind of like, ooh, cool, I can try that too. Thanks for that. And I'm all about giving credit to where credit is due. You know, like I just recently worked with an operator, and I was like, ooh, what if you tried this shot? And he was just like, yeah, let's do it. And it made the cut. It aired on national TV. I was like, woohoo! I was so happy. And he was very sweet. Lance gave me credit. He's like, yep. Oh, that was Robin's shot. And I was like, yeah. You know, it's all about that teamwork.
Yeah, and
So-
it is finding the right team, and what Shara said is it's true. Sometimes it's okay and necessary to burn the bridges because that also helps you. Because you don't want to
Just as
drag
important
something
to learn
that's-
who you don't want to work with.
Exactly, because it's really important to, if you want to be positive and have that load to be light, and you want nothing but good people around you or the same mindset type people, then sometimes you have to unload the ones that are weighing you down. So that's when burning bridges is absolutely necessary. It doesn't always happen, but it does happen, and when it happens, that's just a part of it. You never know if it recreates and someone rebuilds that bridge. I don't know, but for the most part, it's necessary. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I understand definitely. I feel like, you know, I guess because of the way this business and this industry is, and it's so small, you can also, like, for listeners that are out there, I did tell someone that was younger because they kept saying yes to everything. They kept feeling bad, and I was like, hey, if you say yes, that's great. But at the same time, if you don't feel happy working with those people, you can just tell them that you're booked, you know, and then you just become unavailable to them. And then it's not quite burning a bridge, but it's also, you know, allowing you to keep, you know, that open communication. But also,
I learned this lesson not that long ago, actually, and I think it's something that I think about a lot these days. It's, you know, it's not your business what anybody thinks about you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's not anybody's business what you think of them either.
That's true. It's, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's just you.
Right.
If there are people that you don't like and you don't like want to work with, just keep them at an arm's length.
Yeah.
Like, you can be nice aside, and people, like, because you learn things, and there'll be plenty of people that you just don't work with.
Yeah.
And they don't need to know.
Yeah, very true.
You know what I mean?
So where can people, since we got to wrap it up here, where can people find you? Where do you have a website, your social media? What would you?
I have all of the things. So my name is Shara Ashley Zeiger. I am the only me in the world.
Awesome.
So I'm pretty damn Googleable. So my personal website is sharaashleyzeiger.com. If you want to check out any of my fun reels or see what festivals that I'm going to or any of that kind of fun stuff. Also, if you want to see what's up with my company, if you want to join our mailing list or anything like that, I also teach classes in New York on coach, on producing your own work, and work with a lot of first-time artists that are doing that for the first time. And all that stuff's on theplatformgroup.org. My company is The Platform Group.
Nice.
And if you want to follow me on social media, my handles on Twitter and Instagram are Shara Ashley Z. It's in zebra, one word.
Okay.
And Platform Group is, we take off the, and it's just at Platform Group.
Very
That's on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being our special guest today and teaching us so much. I think your advice was phenomenal, and I hope a lot of people listen and take it. And we look forward to seeing more from you. Let me know. Keep me in posted when your other projects are done too. I would love to watch them.
Yeah, and submit to Female Filmmakers Fuse, because we have our festival that just opened up. We'd love to see some of your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll look up into that. And yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was so much fun.
Yes.
Thank you. You have a good Sunday, okay?
Have a great week, guys.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Polar and Robin Pabello, only on LA Talk Radio.